Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world. Are you trying to pick the next book you're going to read? Stand by, because I've got one. I've got two books, Wolf of the Aegean and another wolf book. But besides the books, we just happen to have the author here as well who's going to tell us all about the books. Welcome, Daniel McKenzie.
Grand plaisir to be here, my friend.
Tell us about, you had an opening statement, set the tone.
Well, as far as the idea behind it, I'll use Goethe. Why draw me into this dark gallery? Is not in there enough of fun and fraud and raillery amid the crowded motley of the court? For stamping sink hence and stamping rise again, then you can shout to hero and heroine in the realms of night, the first to face this deed and venture on it. It's done, and you will have done it.
Goethe. Now, I have here the cover of your first book, Wolf of the Aegean. Tell us what that's about.
Wolf of the Aegean is a setting under the, we'll call it, vicious Ottoman Empire on the Mediterranean. And it takes place in Cairo, and because of horrific situations befalling the family of the protagonist, at an early age, he learns to survive and build a pack of, we'll call them orphans, because they're all orphans. And of course, the Ottomans, in monthly sweeps, would destroy orphans on the streets. So they fight back and become, according to Toynbee, the antithesis.
And what is the period?
We are in the 17th century, the beginning of 1603 through 1650, the entirety of the time period.
Okay. And you're talking about things that actually happened in that period?
I completely meld nonfiction, as it were, with my fiction. And in my reviews, I've had rave, shall we say, considering that aspect of my writing, that I can meld them so, shall we say, communally.
Yeah, it's my favorite genre, kind of history, and I learn about the history and the times, and there's a story that makes it interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, my majors were history and literature. So
history and literature. Now, again, here's the first book, Wolf of the Aegean. And what year did you start writing this?
I don't see what.
What year did you begin your process of getting this written and published?
I had lost my wife after 40 years. And being raised in my Indian traditions, we consider not, what should we call it, extraordinary reality as being fact also. Mm-hmm. And always being a lucid dreamer, I awakened in a dream, and she told me to read that. And on a podium was a large tome. I read it, got it, woke up, went to my elaborate typewriter, and it hit it. And that it began. And it was a decade in the making.
Wow.
980,000 words, which I reduced, of course, to around 600 for publication. Mm-hmm. So.
And years, 10 years? Took you 10 years?
Yeah, it was a decade of writing. I disciplined myself. It wasn't even a discipline. It was, to quote my friend that I knew, Jim Morrison, The Doors, in that year there was an intense visitation of energy, and I wrote a chapter a day.
Wow.
Every day.
Every day. Amazing. Now, here's the second book. Does it carry on? Is it a sequel? Is it a separate story?
It's a separate story of four. And it's not so much that it's separate, but that it carries on from the Wolf of the Aegean, as they have finally established their infamous name amongst the despotic empire Ottoman. He's sent to France by his patron in the Mediterranean, which is the Orthodox Church. And when he goes to France, he meets his Cardinal Richelieu and delivers what he had to deliver, including treasure for the Protestant Dutch, although history is amazing. That's all I can say. Took on the hatred of the Pope, but Richelieu did not care, of course. And he wasn't all for himself. It was for, as he once said, my sacred French blood.
I think a lot of people don't know how broad and that Ottoman Empire was and how long it lasted, but it went on a long time.
For what was it, 427 years worth of empire?
Yes.
Uh, Fortunately and unfortunately, one, through all the inbreeding, the sultans were usually disregarded until the harem took over the government. And we'll just say that they had the Corsair pirates to defend what was coming into Constantinople, which, of course, the wolf and his boys knock over.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is 1600s, 1700s?
16 through 1650. The first book is Wolf of the Aegean, second book is Wolves and Empires, third book is Silken Dragons when they're on contract to the Asian seas.
Now, is that third book out yet?
It's a couple of months.
Okay, it's coming out.
Yeah, and the fourth book, The Culmination, which I'm working on still, ad infinitum, editing, rewrite, will be The Culmination, and it is titled tentatively right now Turquoise Gate. So we'll see what that's up to change, I'm sure. But
now you started off, you said almost 900,000 words, and you got it down to 600,000.
yes,
Amazing. That's just edit. Is it hard to let stuff go like that? To cut things out?
oh, it wasn't let go. It was reserved for future stories.
Oh, I get it. I get it. It's material for the future. Now, who's going to read these books? This is the kind of book I read, by the way. But who's your market? Who do you think would want to read this?
Market, all of us pirate lovers. Of course, some of my, I'll call them colleagues, Dr. Briggs or Mr. Briggs, whatever it is, I'm sure you're there. History,
Yes.
regardless of the redundancy, and especially the, shall we call it boredom, has always intrigued me since a lad.
Yeah.
And those of our fellow human citizens that enjoy seeing stories that, shall we say, make sense, and in 3 words summed up, retribution, love at first sight is not a myth, redemption.
Nice.
Yeah, like at the end of King Kong. Well, Denham, planes got him. And Denham smiled and said, wasn't the planes, it was beauty slew the beast.
Beauty slew the beast. Now, what formats will we get this book? Or is there read the hardcover? Is there a Kindle, or is there an audio book?
It's available in any mode, any bookstore, internationally and nationally. In fact, 2 dear friends of mine that are vacationing in Russia purchased them there. That kind of thing. And of course the Amazon and the whomever and the Books and Borders and all. So, no, it's covered as far as displacing.
Yeah. For our viewers, when I go in bookstores, I always ask for the books of the people on these shows. I want them physically in the store. I love to see that. So
I have Copperfields in Petaluma. I have a little stack of 1 and 2. Yeah.
That's nice. Daniel McKenzie, we're running out of time. Any last thoughts? Anything else the viewers should know before we're out of time?
Action, adventure, and an enduring love story. And my writing, again, I've received rave reviews from. It surprised me. I always had a knack for it, and I could get through with it, but it's well written, and I think so.
I know we're out of time, but let me ask this last question: Is what about the research you had to put in to write this book?
Still stacked on top of my printer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's voluminous.
Because you really, really studied the history and got things right about what was happening in the world at this period?
Yes. Oh, yes, it has to be on the mark.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I had a professor emeritus at UCLA that required that we repeat the names of history in their actual sounding in the language.
Wow.
Oh, I loved him, by the way. And he said one day to me, Mr. McKenzie, I said, Professor. He said, what is your specific inventory of history? And I said, Golden Age of Greece to the Republic of Rome. And he went, mine too, of course. That was that.
Yep.
Loved him dearly.
Now, you said UCLA, but you're wearing a Cal hat.
Well, this hat is in deference to my genius son that straightened up my computer for our talk.
Yeah. People not from California won't get the significance of all these things, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Daniel. I could talk to you for hours, but they only give us a few minutes. But I hope you'll come back on the show again and again.
Well, when three's out, we'll talk about, shall we call it, the Woku'u, who are the infamous pirates of the Asian seas, that the captain happens to, shall we say, meld with them.
Nice, nice. Author Daniel McKenzie. Go buy his book. Don't buy one book. Order 3, 4, or 5 of them. Give them out to your friends. That's how I do it. We'll be back with another author right after this.
Thank you.